Carl. One of Mark's brother-in-laws. Mark said, you know, I like Gary. He likes Carl a bit too, I guess. So. Before I bring Gary up, I want to tell you a story about a couple of little kids. And I wasn't sure if I could use the word fart, but the other day at our meeting, Debbie Norton referred to somebody as an old fart. So I think it's okay. Anyway, this story is about two little guys, one about 8 months, the other about 9. And the 9-month guy said to the other little guy, when your mother brings you over, you know, you're always burping and farting and making noises. How come? And he said, well, my mother doesn't, the Pablum, the formula, she doesn't mix it well. It's hard on my stomach. I can't digest, but that's the way it is. They said, I know it's you. Burping, fart some too. How come? Well, he said, I breastfeed. And he said, you know, if you had to share that with some old bearded guy who smokes White House cigars, you would burp.
Thank you, Mandy, and I never thought you'd show up. Yeah, that's especially good for an introduction. That's his brother-in-law. I'm going to shoot myself too. Mark sent me these instructions for his roast. Tell funny stories, some true to life, a few insults, and then pay tribute to him. Like that's going to happen? First I want you to know first that Mark and I have absolutely nothing in common, so what we said about him, not here. I mean, what can you say about Hambrook? That's from the news. Not involved in the car business. Except maybe wrecking, I guess, from down here. He's not a used car salesman. Must have been adopted. Although he does have one Hambrook trait, he thinks he knows all the answers. Mark, as I said earlier, Mark doesn't always go with the flow either. For example, he married my sister instead of his own. Actually said tonight that he has an eye on 2 little girls. So I guess I was wrong on that one. Barbara, I feel your pain. When my children reach their teenage years, they don't want to spend their summers at our cottage in Bay of Vin any longer. So Mark asked us, well, he got Barbara asked us, if they could use it for only one summer. I said, no problem, go ahead. Was I ever stupid? Can't believe it. Next year, the same thing. Then the list started to appear. He would say, you needed a roof. Like I needed a roof. Then later on, you need to fix a couple of screens. Like, I need to fix a couple of screens. Must have thought he still working the fish out. Then you need to place rocks in front of the cottage. Like I have rocks in my head. You'd think I was charging him rent. So after 10 years of paying for insurance and all of Mark's maintenance, request, I sold the cottage. Just to get rid of them. I only wish you went with it. Bertha, I feel your pain. Now, I'm not suggesting that Mark is cheap, but I think I am. And his mother knows only too well. Mark recently went to his niece's wedding in the States. He booked the Holiday Inn where all the guests were staying. Mark arrived and found out that the rooms were from $300 a night. And he proceeded to tell anyone who cared that he wasn't paying $300 a night to a hotel that was only worth $87.02. Obviously, he couldn't charge this trip up to the Salmon Association. New York, Boston, Fredericton, Blackville maybe, St. John. So anyway, he was going to book another hotel 3 hours away from the family for $100 a night. Of course, everyone was upset. The Mark was going to ruin the party, fun and so on, because he's so damn cheap. So Mommy paid for the room.
Can't take a weather.
I feel your pain. Speaking of pain and suffering, Mark became a favorite with his mother-in-law, my mother, by becoming a weasel. Mark made it his business to run to my mother with stories about Derek, me. You see, when I started in the insurance business, Mom loaned me $1,000 or so. But you'd think it was $1 million the way she went on, which meant don't spend any money till I'm paid back or paid off. Imagine, like Mr. Wonderful at Shark Tank, only worse. So every time I bought a new car, Mark ran to Mom and squealed, Derek bought a new car. Or Derek bought a boat. Derek bought groceries for his family. You feel my pain? Speaking of which, I finally forgave him this year, or maybe I forgot, I don't remember. And I invited him and Barb and his sister Mary, as long as she came without her husband Carl, and their weird friends from Toronto. I felt it was safe because Mom passed away 14 years ago. So everyone arrived with a bottle as a boat warming gift, even Mark with a 40-ounce from the captain, which his mother probably paid for. I thought it was really thoughtful for everyone. After the trip, I discovered Mark had opened the bottle of rum, and you guessed it, he drank the whole damn thing. Barb, I feel your pain. Man, Barb, you want to come next year? Not a problem. Even one of your weird friends is more welcome than him. Now, Mark was never good at tying knots. When he first tricked Barb into marrying him, Dad wanted to find out how useless he was. So he took them out to the sailboat and the only job he trusted Mark to do was to tie the dinghy to the mooring. Several hours later, the police arrived towing the dinghy and asked if the dinghy belonged to them, and it did. Great first impression, Mark. So Dad gave him the job because it didn't have the heart to ask Bud at that early age. Dad gave him the job just to get rid of him and send him to Newfoundland. To sell plywood to a tree. You know, they sell them to an Eskimo. He says what Dad thought, because he sure didn't sell any customers. And look at the plywood mill today, Mark. Dad, I feel your pain.
You were running it.
Another episode with Knox. Mark took great pains to show me the do-it-yourself alarm system he invented at the fish hatchery. Oh, feel your pain. In case the power went out in the holding tanks, you're not going to believe this. No, you're not going to believe this. Mark took a rabbit wire from the tanks to his bedroom, a distance of about a kilometer, and he tied one end of the wire to his big toe as soon as he went to bed every night. But one day, the wire failed to wake him. I asked him what went wrong. With a foolish, satisfied grin on his face, he said, Barbara came to bed early that night. Story, and I hope it's worth it. Barbara, I feel your pain. I have to tell you, I'm not a hunter or a fisherman. Tonight I'm probably a fish out of water. But there's one thing I could never figure out. The organization Ducks Unlimited create protected areas for the ducks to grow. Then they shoot them off in the fall. So, Mark grows fingerlings into salmon in a protected environment. At least I thought it was protected. Until they opened up one of his freezers. Speaking of fishing on a water, and now it's time for me to say something nice about it. To the Miramichi Salmon Association, I feel your pain.
Mark, you want to come on up and give
Where to begin? You know, there should be two mics here because when someone says something, you can just counteract right away. It would be wonderful, right? But then you kind of forget a little bit. But anyway, I'll go through in order. Bud, thank you very much for a lot of your kind words. Bud was a mentor of mine, and when I first joined the MSA, I couldn't believe that this guy would, would put as much trust in me as he did. Little did I know that John Burchell was paying him to do it. But Bud taught me a lot over the years because even though I had politicians in the family, my uncle was in LA, I wasn't very good at politics, and I just like to do what I had to do and get it done. But like Bud did teach me the art of talking to people and trying to convince them to give me their money. But anyway, but there was a lot of things, and especially with our friends from DFO and Jim Jones, Dave Dunn here tonight, which are, I worked with DFO with them, and then after I left the DFO, and they were our colleagues, and we had many discussions, and changing the rules on how to protect fish is a lot of politics involved, and And I got to really give it to Bud. Even today, it's even more important than ever. And Bud knows how to do that. And, you know, he's been able to teach me a little bit along the way. So thank you for that, Bud. There hasn't been a white sock in my drawer since that day. And I got to defend myself. It's like Bud called me at 9 o'clock at night, saying we got a meeting with with Tim Irving the next morning. I was in Moncton delivering fish, just finishing up. And he said, be in my office in Fredericton at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I called Barb. I said, Barb, look, I gotta get a change of clothes. I said, you know, I don't have time, so I'm just stopping in, grabbing a suitcase, and I'm gone again. And so Barb had everything there for me, except she forgot a pair of socks. And I had my white work socks in my work boots. That's all I had the next morning. I'm sorry, Barb. Lay the blame on you. I feel your pain, Barb. Not only was it obvious, because I had loafers and these white socks and the loafers. I mean, it was just like a neon light there. And anyway, I'm glad you had a pair of socks in your suitcase, Leslie. So, next was Ian. Boy. No, Ian, I was very pleased with your talk. You know, for so young, you can actually speak in public. And I'm so proud of him because he doesn't have a tattoo and he doesn't smoke. You know, growing up, I mean, you know, I grew up in a different era than Ian has, and you know, we were pushed around quite a bit. You know, you had to put up your dukes when you were called for it and whatever, and it was tough. It was tough. You know, my boys grew up and they didn't have much interference, but I got to tell you one story. It's not only this bus racket used to tick me off. Because there's two buses that went by our house. One where the guy pulled in the driveway across the way and he waited till the exact minute before he would go out and do his run. And then there was the bus that Ian took where he could show up 15 minutes early, 20 minutes late. It didn't matter. He was all over the place, right? And it used to, you know, ready to go out at the prescribed time, and the bus would be gone early. And that used to make me mad. Again, throw the boys in, go out, pull around the bus, hit the brakes, make the bus. I parked right in the middle of the road, stop the bus. Bring the kids up and said, you were early this morning, weren't you? A little embarrassed that way, but he had to make the point. Okay, I'm not going to say any more. I could say a lot more about you, but I'm not. But anyway, in Beijing, the military hospital, I knew the way, but there was a new building going up and there was a detour. And it took us through the Beijing Military Hospital. And it was so funny because we were going by fever patients here, you know, and it's all in Chinese and English. And, you know, all of these different outbuildings, and we were going through, and it was all people in uniforms, and you know, sick people, and, you know, fever here, hysterectomies here. So as a tour guide, I didn't measure up quite so well as they thought I should. I did get them to the right spot. So Peter, you know, I know that I took you on a few fast drives. And I do like to drive fairly fast. But I got to tell you, the last speeding ticket I had was in 1986. And I could have outrun the cop, but I didn't cop. But 1986 was the last speeding ticket I got. And, but I do get stopped about every 2 or 3 months. And And because I drive an NSA vehicle, and they look at me and I don't, I'm sober, and when the inspection's done, they usually say, well, just slow down and take it easy, right? But anyway, I do like to drive fast, but I hope I didn't scare anybody. And I've only had one hit-on collision in that was on one of those urban roads, but anyway, here's an interview. Hal. Oh my God, Hal. When I went to Blackville, Hal was one of the personalities that I met. And you go into class, and Hal, teacher, teacher. Who is this guy? Teacher, teacher. I remember Mrs. McAleer, who was our grade 7 teacher. She said, class, what do we want to say to Hal Muck? We all were, shut up! But Hal was a great friend through school, and I like to live a little dangerous, and Hal was pretty conservative then. And anyway, he was a great designated driver, and we'd go all over the country. Anyway, and we ended up, in university together and roommates, and he all of a sudden took a little walk on the wild side. But I'm not going to go there now. But actually, we had a lot of fun together. Quebec winter carnivals. We traveled everywhere together and we had a great time. And oh my God, he could play the piano like no one I knew. And we'd go to places, and Hal would sit down and play the piano. And all of a sudden, all the girls would come over. I said, I like this guy, right? So I can't sing, but if you get a few ounces of raw courage in you, then you can come along. And I remember at Quebec Winter Carnival, we couldn't get into any bars. The place was so packed. We went into this one place, piano bar. There was no piano player. Hal sat down and started playing the piano. And all of a sudden, the owner come over and he said, you and your friends get all the beer you want, you can play here all night long, right? So, anyway, But Derek, oh my God, I just love being the little snitch in your family. You're right, like you and I have nothing in common. Derek likes the finer things in life and works hard to get them, or will borrow from his mother, or whatever. I took great pride in telling her that Derek he got groceries for the kids, but it was in his new 4-wheeler that he went to the grocery store to get. And Derek's mother, everyone was terrified. She was, even his mother. But I found out right off the bat how John handled it. Whenever she started growling, and she would just tear into him, he'd just laugh. And she would forget it. And so she would start at me, and I'd just smile and laugh. And anyway, we became best friends. And then I got on the better side of her. And Derek, you were the way to focus her anger. I just love it. We got a new car. You got a new car about every year, right? So there's always something new that bring up. And the cottage. I did build the new steps. I did put in the new ceiling and whatever. So I spent the summer there, but I only got to spend about a week or so there. And when I got there, I always had a list of things that I had to do. And anyway, but it was a pretty good run. I appreciated that. And the rocks, you did the rocks, okay. That was a $20,000 thing, but that was okay. I did the $100 steps. Anyway, David Inn was where, again, I was working on Prince Edward Island at the time, Barbara would come home for the summer. Parents were at David Inn, and Derek's empty cottage was at David Inn, and she got to spend the summers there, and I'd come over whenever I could, and our kids grew up there, and it was a wonderful place for kids to grow up. And we do appreciate the use of your cottage.
Don't be nice. The cottage is gone.
Anyway, all the cottages are gone there also. Anyway, it was a good run down there. I really want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. It's not my birthday today, it's in April, but I always said, you know, I was fortunate to work for an organization that was formed the same year that I was born. And I really had enjoyed working for the MSA. Totally different than working for DFO. The security at DFO was there. I tried to do my job well there, and I was recognized for doing it, and we got along great. DFO did decide to turn over all their hatcheries to nonprofit groups, and I was really glad that the MSA decided to take it over, and then for the opportunities to work with the MSA. And, you know, during that time, we also had a hatchery inside the news penitentiary. And I used to always say, well, this morning I got to go to the penitentiary to feed the fish. I'm going to be with a couple of murderers, and in the afternoon I'm going to meet with a couple of millionaires, you know, one extreme to the other. And it was really good fun. And you know, we've done a lot over the years, but for me, I've always been passionate about whatever I do, and Atlantic salmon to me is one of the finest fishes in the world. And I hope that by the time I'm gone from this earth, that there'll still be lots of Atlantic salmon here in the Miramichi. And you know, we have to take care of it. It's a precious resource. We all identify with it, whether we fish or we don't. I mean, our area is synonymous with the Atlantic salmon, and we don't know what's going on in the ocean. And there's a whole bunch of factors that are affecting our fish, but with the dedication, and I'm just overwhelmed with the Campaign 60, where so much money was raised. You know, when Manly said, oh yeah, let's set a target at $2 million. I'm like, oh yeah. That chance of that happening, well, you know, by the time this is over, we'll probably be around $3 million. And that says something that people are willing to. So, again, thanks for coming this evening, and I appreciate your attendance here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You have a little gift for Barb and Mark, and I guess the grocer can come give me a hand. Bob and Al and Ian and Peter, come on, give me a hand here. We have an arrangement for Barb. Well, let's do the honors there. A fishing rod, reel, hardy, a set.
You never give me anything.
Yeah, we'll let Barry give it to him and see if they can make up.